Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Good afternoon. Bienvenidos. To this new STIF talk. I'm Gonzalo Rodriguez and I'm the General Coordinator of STIF. For those who don't know, STIF is the Saudi Spanish Center for Islamic Economics and Finance and is recognized worldwide as a hub for study and promotion of Islamic economics and finance. The center was launched in 2009 with a mission to be a hub for research, teaching, applying, and promoting Islamic finance amongst Spanish, Saudis, and international businesses, governments, and future leaders. CF leveraged from the experience of its partners, the King Abdulaziz University in Saudi Arabia, and IE Business School in Madrid, in Spain. Today's conversation is about Islamic finance and halal industry. In my opinion, the halal industry and Islamic finance have grown rather independently of each other. This is largely due to the core reasons behind the development of each industry. The halal industry was driven primarily by Sharia compliance certification and the production process, whilst the Islamic finance industry saw its growth through the need to provide an alternative to conventional finance. In the current context, there have been some developments in terms of integrating the two industries. The objective of both industries is the same, to ensure compliance with Sharia principles. However, the fact is that the convergence of the halal industry with the Islamic finance industry is still in their very early stages. So today we have two experts with us, two good friends, and it will be great to see their vision and to learn from them. We have with us Mr. Hani Abbas. Hola, Hani, how are you?
Hello.
I'm trying to admit more people here now. Okay. Okay, Hani, so I will introduce you now. Hani's passion is to grow interest-free banking across the globe. Mr. Hani holds 3 bachelor degrees, one in banking and finance, another in IT, both from the University of Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, and one in Shariah from Imam Malik College, also in Dubai. Hani is currently serving as the head of ISSC Secretariat at the Internal Sharia Control Department of Dubai Islamic Bank, which is the first Islamic bank in the world. Lead consultant at Dara Sharia, as well as a mentor in the leadership mentoring program at Dubai Islamic Bank. He was appointed as a member of the first working group organized to develop the initial draft of the Murabaha Sharia standard to be issued by the higher Sharia authority of the UAE Central Bank. Hani has over 16 years of vast experience being part of the Sharia department of Dubai Islamic Bank, as well as Dar al Sharia, and has worked closely with the Islamic finance industry, leading Sharia scholars. He has worked on numerous innovative Sharia compliant products and structures of sukuk, private equity, syndicated deals, investment, treasury, and structured products. He has conducted an array of Islamic banking and finance training courses, including a Sharia audit workshop. And he has been entrusted to conduct a bank-wide Sharia audit for various Islamic banks, takaful companies, and Islamic finance institutions across various countries in the Middle East. So welcome, marhaba, and thanks. It's a real honor to talk to you today. And we have also another expert and friend, Mr. Tomás Guerrero. Tomás, bienvenido. Welcome. Tomás is the manager of the Halal Trade and Marketing Center, HTMC, in Dubai. He was born in Spain, beautiful country. And he's passionate about the Islamic economy and emergency markets. He has dedicated himself to the halal industry and sovereign wealth funds. He began his career working as a researcher at at ESADE Business School, Economic Intelligence Unit, ESADE Geo, for Mr. Javier Solana, former NATO Secretary General, and Mr. Javier Santiso, former OECD Development Center Director and Chief Economist. Mr. Guerrero has been working at Instituto Halal as head of Madrid office and international relations director for 5 years. He has decisively contributed to modernization and internationalization of the Instituto Halal, reaching more than 400 certified companies, helping them start their operation in Latin American countries, among others. In addition, Mr. Guerrero has worked as a consultant on sovereign wealth funds at Inter-American Development Bank, advising countries in Latin America to set up SWFs as Director of Strategy, Consultant, and Cultural Intelligence at Horwath HTL, leading projects on halal tourism, and as a researcher on SWFs at iBusiness School in Spain. Mr. Guerrero has also been ranked in the top 500 leaders who contribute to the Islamic economy by ISFIN Forbes Middle East for the last 4 years, and appointed as Young Fellow by the World Islamic Economic Forum. Mr. Guerrero holds a MSc in Economic Development and Growth from University Carlos III of Madrid. He also holds a BNA in Economics and BNA in Law from the same university. So, Tomás, you have studied a lot. Welcome. Okay. It's an honor to have you here. So, okay, so let's start. Tomás, as you know, there are many people that do not know nothing about halal, about Islamic finance, probably less about the halal industry in this forum, okay? And so, Tomás, the first question is very easy, just to focus the conversation. What is halal and what is HTMC? And how is empowering the halal economy from Dubai? What are you doing there?
Good morning, everyone. Well, first of all, thank you very much for your kind introduction, Gonzalo, as well as for organizing this amazing webinar. Congratulations on the initiative. It's a pleasure, it's an honor to be here today with all of you sharing some thoughts about the halal market. Well, coming back to your question, I will try to be short and sharp. First of all, I would like to say that, well, halal is, as you many know, halal is an Arabic term meaning lawful as per the Islamic law. And for this reason, we always said that the halal economy is composed of sectors whose core products and services are affected by Islamic law, such as food that must be halal, finance that must be Sharia compliant, or fashion that must be modesty. Well, the Halal Trade and Marketing Center is a global business development center focused on the halal economy opportunities for the industry, which includes producers, manufacturers, distributors, and retailers of halal products and services. It was co-founded by the Dubai Airport Free Zone Authority along with the Dubai Islamic Economic Development Center in order to fulfill an identified gap of enabling companies in the halal space. Our mandate, our role is so clear. We are here for supporting companies worldwide in order to get access to the halal market and be successful. Why? Because as you know, there are many halal certified companies around the world. And now the main challenge for many of them is marketing their products. They got the halal certification, but sometimes they are facing some problems or issues in order to connect with the buyers or potential buyers in the Muslim majority countries, or also in non-Muslim majority countries, but with the relevant Muslim population like UK or France, for example, in Europe. For this reason, our mandate is helping those companies looking for expanding their businesses in the OIC countries, Muslim majority countries, as well as in those countries with a significant or relevant Muslim population.
Okay, very interesting. And Hani, welcome. Assalamu alaikum, marhaba. What is Dara Sharia? And first of all, what are you doing at Dara Sharia?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Initially, allow me to thank you for inviting me and Dar Sharia to be part of this amazing webinar. I'd like to thank you personally, as well as the Saudi German Center for Islamic Economics and Finance. We value the footprint of CF and how it's contributing to the Islamic economy generally. Dar Sharia as an entity it was established back in 2007 by Dubai Islamic Bank as a think tank to help the growth and progression of the Islamic finance industry across the globe. And there hasn't been a form of an innovation or a new initiative unless Dar Sharia either has been at the forefront of it or was an innovating mind behind it. Alhamdulillah, we have won numerous awards and tens of close to 100 across a span of less than 10 years. And this stands as a testimony to the achievement Dar Sharia delivers to the industry. So we serve and support and provide guidance to Islamic banks across the globe, Islamic takaful or insurance companies, Islamic financial institutions generally. We even helped and facilitated in conversion of conventional banks into full-fledged Islamic banks, at least 5, 6 in the region. And so whenever it comes to Islamic banking, Islamic finance, funds, sukuk, syndications, Dar Sharia is a one-stop shop that can help you do that in a very, very simple and prompt manner.
Okay, thank you. And in your opinion, Hani, how Islamic finance could serve the halal industry and businesses, and what is the real situation now about this? How we can help the halal industry?
That's a very good question. From my opinion, in my perspective, Islamic finance is simply an enabler. It can fund and finance any industry, any corporate entity within any industry. There are no limits on supporting the halal industry, whether at a corporate level, individual level, SME level. We do believe that Islamic finance serves all industry, and halal is one of the core pillars of the concept of Islamic economy, and hence it has more interest in contributing and playing a major role in the growth of the halal industry. So to what extent do we say, does it have a specific agenda to serve the halal industry? This may not be the case, but it should inherently be motivated to finance corporate entities within the halal industry.
Okay. And let's back to Thomas. Thomas, I think more people here don't know about, as I told you before, about the halal industry. So I would like to know, in your opinion, what are the main opportunities for the sector, for your sector in the halal industry, and how the Islamic finance industry could collaborate, how we could help to grow the halal industry? You have your sound. The sound.
Yeah. No. Okay. Thank you very much for your question. Relevant one, of course. Well, first of all, I would like to say that the halal market is growing so fast. In 2018, the Muslim population spent around $2.2 trillion in halal products and services. This spending reflects a 5.2% year-on-year growth, and it's estimated to reach $3.2 trillion by 2024. Okay. Well, despite the COVID effects on the global economy, the halal market remains resilient, just like it did during the 2008 crisis, and continues offering great business opportunities for the companies worldwide, especially in the Western countries, such as the European or Latin American ones. Well, this fast and growing market offers, as you may know, business opportunities in different sectors, being the food sector the most important one in terms of business volume and the opportunities. In 2018, Muslims spent $1.3 trillion in food and beverage, and of this $1.3 trillion, around $450 billion was destinated by the Muslim population that year to consume halal certified food and beverage products. But as you know, not everything is food. Other sectors such as halal cosmetics or halal pharma are also growing so fast and registering a strong growth rate. And for example, for this halal sector, the estimation for 2000, for example, the estimation for 2018 was $64 billion and $92 billion respectively. Okay. Well, both sectors, halal cosmetics or halal pharma products, for example, are good cases to show that the halal market goes beyond food, and it's also offering business opportunities in many other areas, offering companies producing consumption goods relevant and untapped business chances in many other sectors. Well, regarding to the role of the Islamic finance helping to boost halal trade, what could be the benefit for the halal certified companies, I would like to say that, well, in the non-Muslim majority countries, there are many halal certified companies from different sectors, as I already mentioned. And obviously, all of them got the halal certification in order to be able to export their products, food, pharma, or cosmetics, to the 57 OIC countries, to the Muslim majority countries. But sometimes they don't know, because they are not familiar with the Islamic finance, that their halal certifications also allow them sometimes to get access to Islamic finance products or services, since they could be maybe considered in many cases Sharia compliant assets or companies. This fact will potentially, obviously, allow these companies to, first of all, have an alternative financing source for financing their halal productions, exports for or to the OIC countries, supporting those companies to increase their sales and expand their business in the halal markets. Obviously, there are also more possibilities. For example, Islamic finance could also help those companies to have Islamic finance organizations such as bank or funds as maybe shareholders of their companies, since these organizations could buy stakes of these potentially Sharia compliant companies. And obviously, this also could help those companies, the halal certified ones, to gain connectivity and find new business opportunity in the Muslim majority countries. And finally, for the halal certified companies, the halal certification also could works to help those companies to have also halal Islamic finance organizations as a partners for developing maybe joint ventures or projects related to the halal markets in the Muslim majority countries, such as the construction, for example, or the opening of a production plant or logistic facilities in these countries.
Okay, very interesting. Indeed, there is a lack of understanding of what is halal, and because most of the people, I think, in my experience, and especially in Spain and in Latin America, don't know that halal is much more than just food. Okay, as far as I know, I think there's like 4 main pillars, right, or sectors: food, clothing and fashion, travel, and cosmetic and personal care.
Yeah,
we can say that, right? And okay, back into you, Hani. The halal certification normally not requires finance as one of the requirements or assessment indicators, as far as I know. But finance is one of the initial sources of the creation of halal products. I would like, why is that? And also, another question is, why do you think this is happening, and why there is this kind of disintegration or lack of integration between the two industries?
That's a very interesting question. Now, when you talk about integrating the two industries, it definitely sounds like a good idea. And from my perspective, I see that it is promising to implement. But then before we get into that, we need to look at a few things to consider. So initially, for a Muslim person to, let's say, have a halal product. Now, usually, if it is perceived to be halal, and there's a form of stamp from a relevant certification authority saying that this is a halal product, although all it does is look about how the materials or the item has been made halal, and it does not necessarily currently get into how funding was made from the producer, or financing, or whether Islamically or conventionally, or whether they use surplus funds and interest-based deposits to generate interest, which would be used to buy these materials or raw materials to produce the end product. Now, we as Muslims, we're not asked to investigate in this at the outset. So if this is known to be an Islamic product, usually I wouldn't question that. However, it is still preferable for a Muslim individual, if he knows or can know about this, to prefer a product that has been produced by a producer, whether individual or company or otherwise, that does its own financing Islamically rather than on interest basis. So, for example, I remember a quote by an Islamic scholar somewhere around 800 years ago. So he is saying that riba usury has spread across the region. So we at that point decided not to eat unless what is necessary. To a point that he said we stopped eating things like apple, oranges, and some type of fruits. Now, this is a matter of leveling up your practice of Islam, and it may not apply to every individual Muslim. I understand that. However, if the certifying authority of halal stamp says, we can let you know whether this product has been funded or the production of it has been funded in a halal and an Islamic finance approach, or at least at least it does not involve usury at any part of the funding process, that becomes an ad. So from a certification authority perspective, if they can, during their audit, to inspect and check that everything is done per the Islamic approach, they would also ask a question perhaps to the finance department and the relevant entity: how do you fund your production? How do you fund your business? And if he is to be assured that there's no conventional borrowing on interest or lending on interest, and then they use that interest to fund the production of the business and so forth, then perhaps that halal stamp may have perhaps an extra star or a sign that signifies this is not just a halal product, but it's even been funded in a way, either from pure share capital or with Islamic financing, but at least it was not funded using usury. So if I am standing in a supermarket and I see those two similar products, so one has a normal halal sign and the other had the same halal with that star, signifying that no usury was involved in the production and the funding of the production of this product, I, as a normal individual Muslim, and probably any other Muslim, would rather go for that halal sign with a star.
Okay, very interesting. Also, I think it's interesting that this could also work or be interesting also for non-Muslim. I think this is a lack of understanding, or because I think halal is not just a religious. It's of course a religious thing, but it's also it's about to make the product healthier and better and not harming the planet. So this is something that must be explained to the regular people, and I think that could help also to the industry. Maybe Thomas has also something to tell us later about that, because I think that your vision is bigger. And also, Thomas, I hear from you once to talk about the halal market paradox. And so explain us, I can explain you, but maybe you can explain us what is that. I think it's very interesting, this term.
Thank you very much, Gonzalo, for your question. Yeah, I would like to say, or I'm always saying that, yeah, we have a paradox when we talk about the halal market. Why? Well, the major halal producers are based in non-Muslim majority countries, okay? Such as Spain in Europe, Brazil or Argentina in Latin America, or Australia or New Zealand in Oceania, okay? They are the largest producers of many halal consumer goods. And what happened? Well, they are producing halal goods according, obviously, to the halal standards from the Muslim majority countries, but they are not using Islamic finance for financing their productions or exports to the Muslim majority countries. As probably many of you already know, for example, the MENA region countries, the countries from the North Africa, as well as the GCC countries here in the Middle East, in the case of the F&B sector, we are importing around the 60 or 70% of the food that we are consuming. And the paradox is that we are importing halal certified products, food, pharma, and cosmetics, for example, from the non-Muslim majority countries, from some of them where the producers, the halal certified ones, are based, but those producers are producing according to the halal standard, but not using halal money or Islamic finance. For this reason, as we have been discussing previously in some relevant halal forums, we think, as well as we defend, that the halal standards should try to maybe not force companies there in the non-Muslim majority countries, but for sure invite them to use Islamic financing for producing and exporting halal goods to the OIC countries. It's clear that in this way, the whole business will be halal, first of all. Islamic banks and Sharia compliant funds will have a great opportunity to expand their business abroad. And finally, the companies will be also having access to a lower risk financial products.
This is very, very interesting. Why the Islamic finance industry, why Islamic banks are not working in the main markets where the halal industry is. So it's something that is there. And Thomas, I know you are traveling a lot, not this year, of course, but I know you have been traveling and trying to explain what the halal industry and market is in Mexico. I saw you with the Mexican president. I saw you in Brazil with some of the most important politicians and businessmen there. What they told you, or how is their I mean, what they told you when you start talking about the halal issue and the halal industry and or Islamic banking in those countries that I have lived this experience. So normally people don't know nothing about Islamic finance or Islam. So and when you go there and you try to talk with the Mexican president, try to explain him, hey, there is an opportunity for Mexico. Maybe you are not close as you used to be to the American market, but you have another opportunity. Try to see your vision to Dubai or the Muslim countries. So why they normally told you?
Well,
how is their reaction?
But, yeah, it's a very good question, because for them, halal is something really new. That's the truth. They are now starting to explore the halal market, the opportunities. For this reason, we are spending a lot of time there trying to highlight the opportunities for their companies. Why? Because as I already mentioned, there you have, when you check the rankings in terms of producing, for example, food, there you have the major, the largest producers, players producing food. And for them, the easy way to sell their products is going to US, going to the European Union. But now they want to go beyond and see or check, explore also the opportunities in other regions. And when they try to do it, sometimes they are facing problems because they don't understand the halal legal framework, the halal regulation. For them is, as they are not Muslims, for them is something so complex, especially because, and it's clear that there is one of the problems that we have. We don't have a global halal standard. We don't have a global halal standard. We have some initiative now trying to harmonize everything and trying to define a global halal standard for all the Muslim majority countries. But the reality nowadays today is that we don't have a global one, and they must understand the different standards from different countries. And this is not easy for them. But they want to export, they want to sell, and they are happy to learn and try to go through the process in order to get the halal certification, and then try to sell and market their halal certified products here. Obviously, we are offering them the possibility of using Dubai as a global trade hub for selling their halal certified products. But the thing is, if you go to Europe, you can find many halal certified companies with a vast experience in this field. But there, we are starting now with the basics. We are starting now with the basics, with the halal certification, because, I don't know, in Brazil, for example, you can find many halal certified companies, especially in the meat sector. But if you go beyond Brazil, in other strong countries in terms of food production, such as Mexico, Argentina, or Colombia, or Chile, they don't have many halal certified companies. By the way, there sometimes the halal certification bodies don't have the accreditations from the Muslim majority countries, and for that reason they can't.
We lost your voice, I think. No?
Gonzalo?
Yeah, no.
Okay, I was trying to say that, yeah, we are spending time there because we are now, starting to explore this market. We are trying to support them with the basics now, because, as I mentioned, they don't have their, the expertise, the capabilities, the right people in order to understand how the halal market works. Because before, without regulation, it was in principle so easy, because halal was mandatory only for meat. But now the regulation, the legal framework is more complex. We don't have a global halal standard, and they must understand, the requirements that the companies must fulfill in order to get the halal certification, and then produce, and export according to the halal standard, depending on the target country, usually majority country.
And how many companies are certified as has the halal stamp in Mexico, more or less?
In Mexico now there are around 100. It's
okay.
It seems a big number, but the reality, if you check for example, in the F&B space, the number of producers is, the halal certified ones is, a very, very small percentage. The potential there is huge, but now, as I mentioned, they are working hard in order to recover the waste time, because they saw, we have 57 Muslim majority countries, 1.6 billion Muslim people there, you know, the potential consumers, and they want to diversify. The key here is they are looking for a diversification because they are selling in South America to US, something also to the European Union, sometimes to Japan or Canada, but nothing beyond that. And now they are working hard with China as well as with the Muslim majority countries, especially with the GCC ones and the Southeast Asian ones, such as Indonesia or Malaysia, for example.
So the business just can just grow. So the room for growth is very big. I see. And Hani, do you think this could be an opportunity for Islamic banking? For example, for Dubai Islamic Bank, do you think that maybe for those countries like Latin America or even Spain or the European market, do you think this could be an opportunity to grow or to explore new markets, new very important markets? Because the halal industry is just there, but the Islamic banking are not. So maybe there's room for explore this kind of joint venture.
Well, in terms of expansion in general, as far as Islamic banking and finance is concerned, to any country that has a significant halal industry, or even not, is something that holds great potential. So when we talk about Islamic finance, it's more about interest-free banking. It's a way of financing where we share in profits and loss, so either we win together or lose together and survive and move out of crisis of some sort. And this is what the Islamic finance promises industries, including the halal industry. So the potential to grow to any country is something to be looked for. And I personally support any Islamic bank willing to branch out in a country that does not have Islamic banking. So the more you look or think of it, it's not just the halal industry, but you also serve a huge population of individuals who would like to have their financing done in a way that is not going against their faith. Now, Islamic finance is not only for Muslims. So it's an interest-free system that also complies with other faiths, Islam, Christianity, Judaism. They all prohibit usually. It's not just an Islamic prohibition, maybe even other faiths. So the idea of expanding Islamic finance is inevitable. If you look at the conventional industry, and take a halal company for an example. Let's say we have a huge conglomerate running a balance sheet of more than, let's say, $100 million. And it would require funding of another $100 million. So they'd run with $200 million. Now, if they have a scenario where they take that on interest, they end up having to pay, let's say, $110 million at the end of the year. Now, if they lose, let's say, during a crisis, 50% of their capital, so out of $200 million, they're left with 100. That means a devastating loss where they have to refund, so pay back $100 million and still charge $10 million. In a crisis situation, you can hardly sell the assets or liquidate the company for $100 million, where your loss will even be bigger and more. And the worst aspect of this is you end up asking probably tens of thousands of employees to go home and not come to office the next day or work. And that means 10,000 families will have to suffer as a result. Now, had such corporate entity been funded Islamically on a partnership basis where we share in profit and losses, and a genuine loss did occur and this $200 million reduced to $100 million, an Islamic bank would say, we lost $50 million, you lose $50 million, and if there's a potential, we grow out of this, we grow out of this. If not, we might end it, but at least they would still have $50 million to survive. We don't terminate the company by saying, pay 100, and we don't care if you go into bankruptcy. So the promise of Islamic banking in general is that to grow and enable industries, including the halal, obviously, industry, and by that being a factor of any economy, it makes the entire economy, to the extent Islamic finance is the prevailing banking system in the country, it makes the economy more capable of weathering out any financial crisis or pandemic or otherwise. So if we have this approach of I win, you lose in a time of crisis, and I don't care what happens, this is where economies shrink, people suffer, poverty increases, job losses rise up to millions, and we have just some people ending up living on the streets. From living in their own private homes, they end up on the streets. And we've seen this happen over and over and over again across the years and decades and even centuries. And it's about time we revisit how the economy handles a crisis, how our banking system, being a very prominent part of the economy, functions in a way that should support and enable the economy in a time of crisis rather than do the opposite.
Yeah, this is something that we could see in the previous crisis, indeed, and is where Islamic banking, I think, take the attention of the world, because it was obviously a fair system, a better system, and there was an opportunity to make things better. I don't know what will be happen with this new crisis, because it's quite different of the previous one. It's because exogenous causes, and well, I don't know. Maybe it's another opportunity, if we can say that, for the industry, and who knows? I don't know. Do you think this pandemic could help the industry, or could make the people to understand that this system is better, and maybe is an opportunity also to converge both industries?
Well, I do agree with that. Now, we have learned from the pandemic a lot of positive things, and we have, even as individuals, learned to do things differently. We had to travel all the way to Spain to meet you to have this conference, and now we're doing webinars, everyone from the comfort of his own office, sometimes home. There's a lot of things to learn, and a crisis as well as a pandemic, they both have a huge impact on corporate entities. That also means the jobs for the majority of the population. And as these do get affected negatively, individuals and the social dimension of the society also gets, of the community also gets affected. So we need to, from an economic perspective, just make sure that we have a system that would weather out a crisis, whether a pandemic or financial crisis, or even otherwise, in a way that would yield the result that, yes, maybe we have a lesser profit as an economy across a year. I'm not talking about the banks, I'm talking about every part of the economy. But we survive, we continue, and we pass this as a nation, perhaps. However, if we leave it to the current system and we see hundreds and a huge percentage of corporate entities going into bankruptcy, and we simply do nothing about it, then we have a responsibility that we need to be more committed towards. Because the less we do about this, and the more we see companies going into bankruptcy because of a conventional system that simply doesn't care about their survival, well, we're not doing justice to those who end up getting a termination notice and people saying, sorry, don't come to work tomorrow, just because, we had to file for bankruptcy because we had to pay all this loan and interest. But Islamic banking does have a promise, and the result could be easily measured by the number of entities that would not have to fall into bankruptcy in a system or in an economy where Islamic finance is prevailing, and compare that to another where it does not exist. And we need to probably go back to doing some research, academically speaking, to materialize this in numbers, something that people can rely on to see the value and the validity of deploying such a system in the economy as compared to the traditional conventional system that has been there for centuries and was not helping the economy every time. During the crisis, as you mentioned, we've seen huge conventional banks fall into bankruptcy themselves. So Islamic banks survived. We haven't heard of an Islamic bank that has went into bankruptcy, although we have around 300 or more Islamic financial institutions globally. And they've been doing good overall, and they've grown to nearly $2.4 trillion in a very short span of time.
Explain that is part of our work at STF. We are trying to do that for the last 9 years. And I told you before that this crisis is due to an exogenous reason, is different from the previous one. But my concern is that I think there's a real chance that this crisis turn, especially in Europe, into a new crisis, a new financial crisis. So I'm 100% sure that with another banking system, with a Sharia compliant system, things would be better. So this is a reality. And it's a pity that people don't know what we are talking about when we talk about Islamic finance. And because when you explain what it's about, 99% of the people agree that it's a better system. That's for sure. We have at STF, at IE Business School, we have a partnership with the Islamic Development Bank, and we have had like a great competition, a global competition, looking for new ideas and new financial models. And next week we are going to announce the winners, and we have received like 100 projects, and many of them came from Latin America or Africa or even non-Muslim countries. And most of them projects, they didn't know nothing about Islamic finance. They read what we are looking for and they say, okay, my project is like that. I didn't know it was Sharia compliant. I didn't know this is Islamic or not. But this is my model. This is about microfinance without interest. It's about creating a different way to sell items without interest and helping people and helping my community. So I really think that there is a lack of understanding of the industry, and this is a very common reflection within our industry and our sector, as you know. But okay, I don't know if there is any question from the audience. If so, please let me know, and we can listen your questions. If anybody want to ask anything, please. Ali Ashar. Okay, Ali. Wait, I'm trying to let you talk.
Okay.
Yeah. Ali.
You hear me?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Where you come from?
Well, I'm from Madrid. I'm based in Madrid, originally from Brazil. And I'm working for a Halal certification body that I've been established in Madrid now.
So we are neighbors. We need to meet.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Hope we can have a cup of coffee someday.
Inshallah.
Inshallah ta'ala. I would just like to make two comments, and I just hope the other brothers will take these comments as even as a nasiha. The brother Thomas Guerrero, he was making an excellent point about a halal global standard. This is something that we have to strive for, no matter what it takes. Like, we have to strive for a common, let's say, at least for in the beginning, an European halal standard, and this could then. Am I still in? Hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Because the camera's changed. Anyway, so there was in the past an initiative supported by CEN, the CEN, the European Center for Normalization, and we had many discussions in Cordoba once, And then I was in Cordoba once, and then in Budapest, when it was then finished, because there was a conflict that saying that the Sen would say that a European standard cannot be done because Europe is a secular entity, so to speak, and it cannot accept the authority of the Quran, for example, a religious source, in order to, that this religious source will then be the basis for an European regulation, if you get my point. Okay, so they wouldn't accept that a religious book, they were not talking only about Islam in this case, but they were saying that a religious source cannot be the basis for an European regulation once the European is a secular entity. So this is one first thing that we have to very, very carefully think about. And then I actually said, well, if the Quran cannot be the basis of a halal standard, then there's no reason for us to be here, because it has to be based, I mean, all the rules, all the halal rules that we have are based from a religious point of view, which is the Quran. So this is one thing, but I think we should all strive for that. The second point that I tend to disagree a little bit with Mr. Thomas and all the other participants, maybe, is that unfortunately what we need is a better awareness of what is what we said, the ikhtilafat al-fiqhiyya, meaning the theological differences between one school of thought or another, if a school of thought is a way to say it, a way to put it. The differences are so small that we could easily get into an unified standard. The problem I see is, and this is my question, don't you think that most of the certification bodies, most of the certification authorities, most of the people involved in certification, they are not highly qualified in Sharia. They are not highly qualified in Islamic studies. So we always see in conferences, now because we have difference between this madhab and that madhab, and when you say, but come on, the differences are so big. And not only that, even if I am from example, from a Hanbali perspective, I see fiqh, I see the theology from a Hanbali perspective. That doesn't mean that if a Hanafi rule is applied, I should not respect that and follow that and even apply that. You know, this is the respect even that the scholars had amongst themselves, and the examples of that are a lot. And well, this is my humble contribution, you know, these comments. But the question is, my question is, I see, and don't you people think, don't you brothers think, that the fact that there's so much lack of understanding of the Islamic theology in these Islamic organizations, don't you think that this is the problem that we have on unifying on a unique and unified international standard? Thank you very much. Barakallahu feekum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you very much. And Thomas, I think Thomas will answer you. I think all the organizations have their Sharia scholars. I'm pretty sure of that. But for those who don't know, it's important to understand that Halal is not the Christian church. I mean, there are different. To see the word now. You have different. Yeah. So we have the Hanbali, the Hanafi. So sometimes this is a little bit difficult to explain to those who are not Islamic. Okay, but Thomas, go on.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we have different schools of thought.
School, yeah.
Schools of thought, and yeah, I'm agree with Ali, the sense of we need to, in general, we need to improve our knowledge, not only to say in the religious field, also from the technical point of view. It's clear that we have some issues when we work with the companies in Europe, and sometimes the people working for the certifiers are not, how to say, are not, they don't have as Ali mentioned, the capabilities of the knowledge that it's required to work with the halal certification, but not only from the religious point of view, also sometimes or many times from the technical point of view. And for this reason, I think we need to improve our knowledge in both areas and try to promote initiative activities in order to try to support halal certifiers teams in order to improve their skills.
Thank you, Thomas. I think training and awareness when you speak about Islamic banking and Islamic finance is key. This is a problem that we have seen always in all the regions we are working in, and this is something that for us is very important. But it's one thing is talk about Islamic banking or Islamic finance, and another is talk about Islam, which is much more complicated in terms of you need to be a Shariah scholar, of course, and there are, as we said, different school of thoughts. So I think we are out of time. Hani, I don't know if you want to add any final remarks or you want to say anything? Yeah.
I just wanted to answer Ali on one point, the matter of difference of opinions of the schools of thoughts in Islamic jurisprudence. Now, the concept of having the difference is part of Islam. You cannot part with that. And to have different standards, having different detailed aspects that vary from one standard to the other is kind of normal. Now, can we have a unified standard that complies with all? Probably be a bit more stricter, but then more acceptable is something worthy of pondering on. But I wouldn't criticize the fact that there are differences. Islam is a religion, it kind of adapts as time passes, and it adapts from place to place in terms of some aspects of its jurisprudence. That depends on the practices and the customs of human being in that area or time. Now, when you talk about awareness of the front line of such entities, I do understand that the knowledge they may have, whether in the halal industry, even Islamic finance, may not be up to the mark, but they resort to Sharia scholars or a panel of Sharia scholars who opine on how things happen and how standards are set and so forth. And we do expect that trainings do take place for people at the front line who actually process or do things. And if there's a lack of knowledge there, well, it shouldn't be a general lack of knowledge, but they need to have knowledge in what they have to do and perform so that they perform their duties the way they should and as expected. But then the simple solution to that is train those individuals and upskill them so that they can do it up to the mark.
Okay, thank you very much, Hani. And that's all. I want to express my gratitude, especially to you, Hani and Tomas, for your time and for share your thoughts and your expertise with us. And to all the participants also, thank you very much for being there. And please stay tuned, because for sure we are gonna make more webinars, and we will continue with our CF talks. Okay. Thank you very much. Shukran jazeelan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.